Hi, my name is Marinna Shareef and thank you so much for watching my videos, for watching my art. I really hope you liked it. I would first like to thank the Caribbean Digital and Alice Yard for picking me as this year's residency winner. I am very grateful and thankful for this experience, especially for being able to be working with such a talented artist such as Christopher Cozier and having worked so closely with my work and being able to get critique from him. It's been really cool to see how my work has changed from the beginning of the residency to now, and the topics it's been navigating. It's been really difficult, and sometimes I think when I do the work it almost puts me in a place of sadness because of how hard it is to tackle the trauma again, because the work does go through some dark times in my past. Instead of really looking at how I feel, it goes through specific situations and how I feel, compared to works in my past where I look at bipolar disorder and how it can make you feel, or how it did make me feel. This time it more looks at things in my past that may have caused my bipolar disorder, things that happened when I confronted people about trauma, things that really were life-changing, and things that was so events that was so life-altering that my brain tried to suppress it. So by trying to uncover it, I used my art to remember. I used my art to try to get myself to explain how I felt, explain certain events in an abstracted way. Especially in my last video that I did, I really had a hard time doing this one, but I wanted to do it really badly because of how that event affected me so greatly. I think even if I didn't do this residency, I think if I didn't do this residency, I wouldn't have had the courage to do it so soon, but I would have needed to do it anyway. So I'm glad that in doing this residency I was able to tackle it so soon after it happened to me. And talking to Christopher Cozier, he really expressed to me that he wanted to see more of my individual Caribbean experience come through the work, in my own way, in the way that I use my distinct vocabulary. So I decided to focus on my Indianness and how it related to my life, and it doesn't relate to my life in the most typical ways that it might relate to most people's lives. My Indianness changed my life, or affected my life really, in terms of my family dynamics and how I was raised, the strictness with how I was parented, how I celebrated festivals, such as, stuff like that, but really how I was raised, and because of that it affected my entire life. And with that, becoming a young adult, I really had to analyze certain things and be like, okay, why am I the way I am? Why do I act the way I am? Why do I feel certain ways towards my parents? And is it normal? Is it not normal? And why do they feel certain ways towards me? And I really tried to explore the consequences of being an Indian woman in the Caribbean, but just being an Indian woman in general as well, and having to be owned, being owned by a parent, being controlled their whole life, and the consequences of that, what has happened because of that, and trying to break through from that trying to teach my parents that that's not okay anymore. So this art really is a consequence of that. It is a physical manifestation of those issues in my life. I think that's the best way I can explain it. A lot of it, you can see I'm dressed in Indian wear, you know, and while it's colorful and beautiful, there is something dark beneath it, because I feel like we have a lot of old traditions that allow people to do things that should not be done, or make them feel like they can own others, make them feel like they have the right to act a certain way. And you know, like, that is what I was trying to portray in a lot of these things. So I really did try to explore my Caribbeanness and my Indianness, and this is a whole new era for my art. Before, I used to almost exclusively do work on bipolar disorder, but I would say that I am going through a phase, not a phase, but a transition where I more explore my trauma. So instead of bipolar disorder, it's more maybe what caused my bipolar disorder, maybe what is happening because of it. Bipolar disorder has and will continue to always affect me, but I am on meds now, so I would have to say that unless something goes wrong with that, or of course I always have to change it when, you know, life changes. Now I really want to focus on my life as it changes, and that is becoming a young adult, and what is my main issue now, and that is leaving the nest, you know, leaving home and trying to just leave a lot of my trauma behind, or even trying to heal it, trying to make sure that things are better with my parents, trying to understand a lot of my childhood, because before, I would say 2 years ago, I didn't remember a lot of it, and then one day I remembered a lot, and I realized why a lot of gaps are missing. And so this, I would say this sequence of videos, a lot of it is kind of scraping the surface of when I started to remember, and me kind of dancing around what caused it. And it's a hard topic, and I think it's me, it's almost like a little version of me in my brain dancing around it, trying to discover it, talk about it to myself. It's almost like therapy for myself without having to go to a trauma therapist, you know? I think it has helped me a lot, because I have notes at the beginning of this residency where I was not able to talk or even write any sketches, or couldn't come up with any concepts based on what I went through. And that says a lot for me, because I'm normally really able to just kind of be open with other things, like my bipolar disorder, as I said. So you could really see how it's affected me. But I was watching an episode of a show that I really like called Inside Number 9, and it opened me up. I really liked how they use a childlike approach to discuss sexual abuse, and it made me feel, and things that make me feel are things that remind me of art, because art makes me feel. And it was similar to things that I experienced. And so in that, I decided, So in that, I ended up getting some ideas. I just ended up writing it down in my art sketchbook, and all of a sudden I basically had all my ideas for the rest of the residency. I just had to execute them. So yeah, there's something about being a Caribbean girl, and people think that we all are cut from the same cloth, you know. And growing up in the Caribbean, I felt ostracized. I felt different because people called me Americanized because of things I liked, you know. And it's so interesting to me because I would say that I don't fit in because, well, I didn't fit in when I was younger because I didn't like the same music as everybody else, you know. I was a little different. So in this work, I tend to use cultural imagery that refers to Trinidad, or just refers to things that I've experienced that locates me in the Caribbean without me even noticing it because I live here, you know. But it may not be the same way that my sister experiences it. So I think, you know, as somebody who has seen other Caribbean work and has experienced a lot of Caribbean work, I think that's important to say. Not everybody from the Caribbean is the same and has experienced the Caribbean the same, because there are different islands, there are different areas of the islands that are vastly different. So it's very cool to see different work, different experiences, people that come from different religions, that come from different cultures, and then they all mix together, you know. It's really, really cool. So to be able to create work that I can fully create and be myself and fully address my trauma without like being accused of not being Caribbean enough, because being Caribbean is not one thing. Being Caribbean is not painting a coconut tree. Is really cool in the outer space, in the outer art world. It's really cool. Thank you for listening to what I have to say. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them or message me on Instagram. I'm available right here. Yeah, I really hope you find my work to be interesting and that it affected you, or it made you think or feel in any way. I hope that I genuinely hope that you enjoyed it. Thank you so much.